My hands were trembling so much, I could barely hold my phone. The voice on the other end was cold. It was very professional. "Ma'am, you are under arrest for serious assault and leaving the scene of a car accident." It was a Tuesday, just a normal Tuesday. Minutes before I was singing in my car, I was thinking about what food to order. Now bright blue and red lights flashed. They made my car look scary. 2 serious police officers were at my window. My perfect life, the one I built with hard work and good choices, was about to fall apart. "But I haven't done anything," I said. My voice was shaking. "We have a witness, Ms. Davies," the officer said. His voice showed no emotion. "And evidence. Please step out of the car." The cold metal of the handcuffs bit my wrists. This was the first moment of truth. The back of the police car smelled a little like cleaning liquid. It smelled like sadness. The police station was a blur of bright lights. There were quiet conversations. My lawyer, worried and surprised, was already there. My best friend Sarah had called her quickly. But even Sarah looked confused. The evidence against me was very convincing. Too convincing. And then the phone calls. To him. Noah. My Noah. The man who filled my life with happiness. He promised me a future I only dreamed of. He was everything to me. His phone went straight to voicemail. Again and again. Not one text message. Not one call back. He had disappeared. Just like that. Days blended into a terrible time. Interrogation rooms. Complicated legal words. The heavy feeling of an accusation I didn't understand. The shame was a real thing. It was like a heavy blanket covering me. Every time I called Noah, nothing. The silence was louder than any accusation. Had he left me? Was this some strange test? My mind spun in a circle of confusion and fear. Finally, Sarah, who was strong even when scared, got me out on bail. I walked out of the police station. I blinked in the bright daylight. I felt like a ghost in my own body. My phone vibrated. An unknown number. I answered. My hand was shaking. "Olivia," a soft voice asked. It was a woman's voice. "My name is Emily. We need to talk." Emily. The name rang in my mind. A faint, strange memory from Noah's past. An ex-girlfriend he mentioned once. He said it casually, but there was nothing casual about the woman standing in front of me. Her dark hair was styled beautifully. Her eyes held a strange mix of pity and determination. Her hand rested carefully over her visibly round stomach. "I know about the accident," she said. Her voice dropped to a low secret whisper. "And I know you are innocent. But if you want this to go away, if you want to avoid a big scandal, a public trial, and ruin your good name, you will pay us a large amount of money to keep quiet, to disappear." She held out 2 papers. I gasped. A marriage certificate, Noah's name, her name, and a date that was less than 6 months ago. A date that was before he even met me. My world turned upside down. And then an ultrasound picture. A tiny blurry image of a baby. "I am pregnant. It is Noah's. We are married. We have been planning this for a long time." The air left my lungs completely. My perfect life, my perfect love, broke into a million pieces. It showed a carefully planned horror show. Every sweet word, every kind act, every big declaration of love suddenly twisted. It became something ugly. He was not building a future for us. He was building it with her, using my money. The betrayal hit me like a physical punch. A cold, hard feeling of disgust and anger started to grow in my stomach. The police set up his sudden disappearance, Emily's chilling demands. It was all too carefully planned, but still a small bit of desperate hope held onto the broken pieces of my mind. A voice whispered, "This cannot be real. He could not be this kind of monster." That small bit of denial, that desperate hope stayed with me for days, even as Emily's calls and messages increased. Her demands for money became more urgent, more threatening. I was a mess, barely eating, barely sleeping. The police investigation was still happening. The threat of charges still hung over me like a heavy weight. My apartment felt like a prison. My phone was a constant source of worry, but Sarah, my truly loyal best friend, would not let it go. She was my support, my strength. She was full of strong anger for me. While I was stuck in a terrible situation, she was searching, quietly, relentlessly, using every contact she had, every unusual online forum, every bit of detective work she could do. She was not just trying to clear my name, she was trying to find out who was behind this and why. She sensed a deeper, more evil game was being played. Then one afternoon her call came. Her voice was tight with hidden anger. It almost vibrated with controlled fury. "Olivia," she said, getting straight to the point. No polite greetings. I found them. Found who? I asked. My voice was flat, empty of feeling. Like a dead battery. I was too tired, too numb, to even feel curious. I just wanted it all to end. Noah and Emily, at the hospital, the baby doctor's area. Her voice broke with the weight of the words. I gasped. The air in the room suddenly felt incredibly heavy. They were laughing, Olivia, holding hands. He looked so happy. He even touched her stomach, like a loving husband, like they were planning their whole future together, like a normal loving couple. The dam broke. The last fragile piece of my denial shattered into a million tiny pieces. It showed a horrifying, undeniable truth. The hope I had held onto, the desperate wish that it was all a terrible misunderstanding, disappeared in a flash of bright anger and terrible sadness. The image she described, so clear, so cruelly normal, hit me with the force of a punch. I dropped the phone. It clattered against the wooden floor. The dial tone was a sad sound in the sudden empty quiet of my apartment. The world spun. The betrayal was not just an idea anymore. It was a physical ache, a deep pain that I felt in my bones. A cold, hard knot of disgust and anger. It was not just him. It was both of them. A planned, sickening plot. A perfectly organized dance of lies, with me as the unknowing leader. I sank to the floor. Hot tears streamed down my face. But this time they were not tears of confusion or sadness or even fear. They were tears of pure, strong anger. A cold, burning fire started inside me. A sharp, almost frightening clarity. It was like waking up from a long, strange dream. A nightmare I had made myself. I saw everything clearly now. The perfectly chosen gifts, the unclear answers about marriage, the insistence on keeping business separate from personal life, the sudden unexplained legal trouble. It was not love. It was a deal. A carefully planned, money-motivated trick. And I, the intelligent, independent Olivia at 35 years old, had been the target, the perfect, unsuspecting victim. But they had underestimated me. They had underestimated a woman who was hurt deeply, a woman betrayed to her very core. They had mistaken my pain for weakness. They had mistaken my shock for giving up. This was not just about getting my money back. This was about getting back my dignity. This was about breaking down their whole plan step by careful step. This was about making sure they never, ever did this to anyone else. Sarah, I said. My voice was surprisingly steady, almost strangely calm, despite the storm inside me. I picked up the phone. I need your help. All of it. We are going to destroy their world. Let me tell you a little about Olivia. That is me. I am 35 years old. For most of my life I have been very independent, financially self-sufficient, and I have always been proud of being smart, very smart. I built my career from the ground up, working through complex financial markets with a sharp mind and even sharper instincts. I had seen it all. Dishonest deals, controlling tactics, people trying to trick others. I thought I was safe from emotional manipulation, that my intelligence and maturity would protect me from such simple tricks. I had seen friends get into bad relationships, watched from the side, feeling confident in my own wisdom. I was proud of being too clever, too practical, too sensible to ever be swept away by a charming talker. My past relationships had been stable, predictable, safe. Nothing that made life exciting, but nothing that threatened to ruin it either. I thought I knew exactly who I was and what I deserved. I had my apartment, my career, my carefully chosen friends. I was happy, or at least content, until Noah. He was the unexpected part, the one thing that broke through my defenses. He was 28, 7 years younger than me, but he acted with an old wisdom, a knowledge beyond his years. His beauty was clear, striking almost perfect features, a slim, strong body, and those captivating hazel eyes that seemed to look right into your soul. But it was not just his looks. It was the way he spoke, a low musical voice that could calm or excite easily. He had this amazing ability to copy your emotions, to know your thoughts before you spoke them, to make you feel completely understood. He was a master of charm, someone who understood human desires. He moved through the world with an easy grace, always knowing the right thing to say, the perfect thing to do. He was in every single way the ideal partner I had not even consciously realized I was looking for. He did not just listen. He heard me, in a way no one ever had. He was not just attentive. He was perfectly suited to me. Every gift he gave me, every thoughtful act, felt like it came directly from my deepest wishes, from conversations I barely remembered having, From preferences I had not even said out loud. It was mesmerizing. It was like he knew my inner thoughts, a direct connection to my soul. Our dates were always perfect, always an experience. Expensive dinners at fancy restaurants that were hard to get reservations for, spontaneous weekend trips to charming towns by the sea, private shopping trips where he would choose exactly what I secretly wanted, but would never have bought for myself. He would open doors, pull out chairs, anticipate my every need before I even knew I had it. He made me feel seen, cherished, loved. It was the kind of love story you read about in books, the kind that makes you think, finally this is it. My friends, even Sarah, my always doubtful best friend who saw through everyone's lies, were completely charmed. Olivia, Sarah would say, her eyes wide with real surprise. He is perfect. He is everything you ever said you wanted. She saw the happy glow in my eyes, the lightness in my step. I was happier than I had ever been. He was not just a boyfriend. He was my trusted friend, my biggest supporter, my escape from the constant demands of my career. He made me believe in a kind of love I thought only existed in movies. He talked about our future, vague but full of promise, a life together, filled with adventure and shared dreams. Then came the small changes. The talks about our future always started by me would gently go off course. When I would bring up marriage, he would get a distant, almost sad look in his eyes. Darling, he would say, his voice a soft caress, I want nothing more than to spend my life with you. But I just need to get my work stable first. I want to build a business for us, for our future, before I ask you to promise forever. He would talk about money security, about not wanting me to worry about anything, about wanting to provide the very best. I want to be able to give you everything you deserve, Olivia, and right now my focus needs to be on building that strong base. It made sense, right? A responsible, ambitious man who wanted to make our financial future secure before taking that big step. I admired his drive, his planning. It only made me love him more. It was not about him avoiding commitment. It was about him being too committed, too dedicated to our shared future. That is how I explained it to myself. That is what he made me believe. His new company, Apex Innovations, was his great passion. He spoke about it with an almost religious excitement. It is going to change investment, he would say, his eyes shining with belief. It is not just about money, Olivia. It is about helping people. About building something truly important. He would bring home shiny brochures, show me complex financial models on his laptop, explain the complicated computer programs he said he had developed. It all sounded incredibly real, incredibly impressive. He was always on calls, always drawing diagrams, always giving off an aura of intense, brilliant focus. He worked tirelessly, late into the night, often sleeping at his office, which only made me believe more in his dedication. He was always networking, always moving forward, always a step ahead. One evening, over a candlelit dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, he suggested an idea. In hindsight, it should have made alarm bells ring in my head. But at the time it felt like the ultimate sign of trust. Olivia, he said, holding my gaze with those captivating eyes, I want you to be a part of this. Not just emotionally, but financially. I want you to invest 30% of the shares in Apex Innovations. It is not about the money, love. It is about us building something together, a lasting legacy, a true partnership. And it is important to me that we keep our personal lives and our business separate. For clarity, for respect. It protects our relationship, Olivia. Ensures our love remains pure, untouched by business arguments. He told it so beautifully, so convincingly. It felt like proof of our bond. A sign of his absolute trust in me. He wanted me to be his equal, his partner in every way. He said it would make my place in his future strong. A direct, real stake in the business he was building for us. And like a fool, blinded by what I thought was love, I bought in, completely. I transferred a large part of my savings, a significant part of my carefully built financial security, into Apex Innovations. I told myself it was an investment in our future, a shared dream, a beautiful sign of our partnership. A smart financial move even for me. I even convinced Sarah it was a good opportunity, a sign of how deeply I had fallen, how completely I had been tricked. Sarah was incredibly determined. Once she turned her anger into action, she was unstoppable. Her loyalty was complete, her determination unshakable. She had a network of contacts I did not even know existed. Financial experts who find hidden money, private investigators, even a former police officer who now worked in company security, and owed her a big favor. She became my helper, my strategic partner in getting back at them. We started digging, not just for dirt, but for the truth. Every lie, every deception, every manipulation, every small part of their complicated plan. We spent countless nights looking at papers, tracking digital paths, making quiet inquiries. The first shock had turned into a burning clarity, a focus I had not known I had. My anger was a cold, precise tool. What we discovered was a horrifying story of lies, much more complex and disturbing than I could have imagined. Emily was not just Noah's ex-girlfriend who came back by chance. She was his long-term partner in crime, a professional scam artist with a recorded history of similar tricks. We found victims, other trusting people who had been tricked, financially used, and then discarded. Her method was always the same: charm, trapping, taking money, then disappearing. We found records of her working under many false names, in different cities, always with a charming male partner who would trick the victims. The accident I was involved in, a common trick from their playbook. We found the man they had paid, a struggling former actor, who under pressure from Sarah's investigator confessed everything. They had set it up, made sure the police had enough fake evidence, enough to make it seem believable, enough to keep me busy, to keep me distracted and weak. While they pushed their financial demands, it was a perfectly executed move to apply maximum pressure and take money, designed to drain me financially and silence me. They even had backup plans in case I resisted. And the baby. Oh, the baby. That was the most sickening discovery. Sarah found out that Emily had been using an old ultrasound image, one from a previous unrelated pregnancy she had years ago, long before she even met Noah. The child was not Noah's, and quite possibly it was not even real. The entire pregnancy was a prop in their elaborate trick, a gruesome manipulation of one of life's most sacred events, a desperate attempt to make their claim seem real, and make me feel guilty into agreeing. It was a sign of their wickedness, a cruel joke on my lingering empathy. Then came the real big surprise. The core of Noah's perceived success, Apex Innovations. It was not a revolutionary investment company. It was a classic, carefully built Ponzi scheme, a house of cards built on the investments of trusting individuals. He had been using money from new investors to pay off earlier ones, creating an illusion of huge success, a stable growing portfolio. My 30% investment, it was not for growth. It was for their expensive lifestyle, to keep the false appearance going, to fund their luxurious dates and their carefully chosen image. He had been planning to run away with the money, leaving behind a trail of ruined lives, empty bank accounts, and shattered dreams. We found offshore accounts, fake companies, and a terrifyingly efficient escape plan. He was not building an empire. He was building a trap. The more we uncovered, the clearer the path to getting even became. This was not about public shaming or small revenge. It was about strategically breaking down their carefully constructed plan. My 30% stake in Noah's company, it was the power I needed. The key piece of the puzzle. It was a golden ticket, a weapon in my hand, something I had unknowingly given him, that I would now use to destroy him. I contacted a competing investment firm, a major player in the market, that had always looked at Noah's startup with a mix of suspicion and grudging respect. Everest Capital was their name, and they were known for being ruthless, ambitious, and completely without emotion. They saw a target, and I was giving them the exact plan to take it down. I arranged a private meeting with their top executives. I walked in, not as a victim, but as a woman with a plan. I explained the entire unpleasant story, calmly, methodically, supporting every claim with every piece of carefully collected evidence Sarah and I had gathered. The fake accident details, Emily's documented history as a professional scam artist, Noah's dishonest investment practices, the clear signs of a Ponzi scheme. I told them everything, presented them with the undeniable proof, and watched their eyes widen with interest like predators. Then I offered them my 30% stake, not at market value, not for profit, but for a ridiculously low price, a quick sale, a gesture that showed I was not interested in personal gain, but in complete destruction. My only condition was that they use my shares to start a hostile takeover and ensure Noah's complete removal from the company. They were smart. They saw the opportunity immediately. They saw a chance to not only acquire a quickly growing competitor, but to acquire it for very little money, effectively taking it over and absorbing its assets, without a long, expensive hostile takeover battle. It was a strategic move, a company takeover, enabled by a desperate woman seeking justice. They did not hesitate. The deal was done within days, completed with quiet efficiency. Under a veil of company secrecy, my 30% was transferred to Everest Capital, and with it my future was once again firmly in my own hands. The chess pieces were finally in place, and that was the beginning of the end for Noah. With my 30% in their hands, Everest Capital had a significant foothold. They used it to buy more shares, aggressively, secretly, from other unsuspecting investors, often at higher prices to quickly gain a majority stake. Noah, completely surprised, caught off guard by the sudden change in ownership, lost control of his own company. He was too busy avoiding Emily's demands and trying to maintain his false appearance to see the corporate storm building up. The board, now controlled by Everest Capital, quickly moved to remove him. He was out. Kicked out of the very business he claimed he was building for us. The irony was delightful, a bitter, satisfying taste in my mouth. His entire dishonest career, built on lies and manipulation, collapsed like a house of cards, exposed to the harsh light of reality. The final act of his downfall was almost boring in its speed. It happened during the annual Apex Innovations shareholders meeting, a fancy event held in a grand ballroom. Noah, still trying to appear in control, stood at the podium, giving a practice speech about future growth. Suddenly the doors burst open, and a group from Everest Capital walked in, led by their CEO, a woman with a determined look and a sharp smile. She took the microphone, presented the overwhelming evidence of Noah's fraud, announced his immediate termination, and declared Everest Capital's acquisition of Apex Innovations. The room exploded into chaos. Noah's face turned pale. His jaw dropped in disbelief. He looked like a puppet whose strings had been cut. It was a spectacle, a public execution of his carefully built lies. When Noah finally understood what had happened, when he realized I was behind it all, he was furious. He showed up at my old apartment, raging, his handsome face twisted into a mask of pure, strong anger, veins bulging in his neck. He pounded on the door, screaming my name, demanding answers, accusing me of sabotaging him, of ruining his life. The charming appearance, the polished exterior, was completely removed, revealing the ugly, manipulative monster underneath. But I was not there. I had already moved, quietly, efficiently, into a new safe place, far from the wreckage of my past, far from the poisonous remains of his existence. I left him a gift, though, a thick file, carefully put together, tied with a simple black ribbon. It was placed clearly on the empty kitchen counter, the last thing he would see, as the realization of his complete defeat finally hit him. Inside every piece of evidence we had gathered, the copies of Emily's past convictions, the fake accident reports, the undeniable proof of his investment fraud, the intricate details of his various scams, even the evidence that Emily's pregnancy was a cruel trick, all neatly organized, each document a nail in his coffin, and on top a single clear note, written in my own hand. My elegant handwriting now filled with a cold, triumphant finality. You played, you lost. The result was swift and harsh, a public show that unfolded faster than even I expected. Noah's name was disgraced. His face was on financial news channels. As the mastermind behind a huge fraud, the authorities, armed with the undeniable evidence I had provided, started a full financial investigation. His startup was exposed for the fake it was, leaving a trail of devastated investors, some of whom had lost their life savings. His career, the one he claimed he needed to stabilize before marrying me, was completely permanently destroyed by the fire of his own greed. He was facing many charges of fraud, stealing money, and conspiracy, looking at a very long time in prison. The last I heard, he was in temporary detention, waiting for trial, his empire being taken apart, its assets sold off, and his luxurious lifestyle reduced to the stark reality of prison walls. His police photo was everywhere, the charming smile replaced by a hollow, defeated stare. Emily's family, facing public shame and the threat of legal problems for their indirect involvement, disowned her. The truth about her past, her long history of scams, and the chilling discovery that her pregnancy was a cruel hoax, came out in painful detail. She disappeared from public view, her once glamorous appearance shattered, leaving behind a path of ruined reputations and broken trust. Rumor has it she is on the run, a ghost in the criminal underworld, stripped of her network and her last bits of support. A warning story whispered in the dark corners of online fraud forums. She was no longer Noah's partner. She was just another loose end. And me, I was free. I walked away from the entire drama. From the toxic entanglement, from the suffocating grip of betrayal. My name was cleared in the car accident. The truth of the setup was exposed, and the paid witness confessed. The initial financial loss was significant, yes. A high price for a terrible lesson, but the symbolic victory, the deep satisfaction of breaking down their operation, of exposing their rottenness, was worth more than any financial gain. My financial independence, once a source of pride, then a target for exploitation, was now a shield, allowing me to rebuild, to heal, to breathe again without the constant pressure of a lie, without the shadow of a criminal charge hanging over me. I bought a new apartment, not fancy, but peaceful, a true safe place. I changed my routine, reevaluated my priorities. The scars remain, of course. The bitter taste of betrayal, the raw pain of realizing how completely I was manipulated, the chilling understanding of how deep human dishonesty can go. It is a harsh lesson, learned at a steep life-changing price. The trust I once so freely gave is now a precious thing, guarded fiercely. Every new person I meet, every seemingly perfect gesture, is now looked at with a careful eye. I do not see it as being paranoid. I see it as survival. But I came out, not broken, not destroyed, but sharper, wiser, stronger, more resilient. I learned that even in the darkest moments of deception, the power to fight back, to reclaim your story, lies within you, and that sometimes the most effective revenge is simply refusing to be a victim. They say love conquers all, but sometimes, especially when that love talks constantly about money, about building an empire and securing the future, it is nothing more than a transaction, a carefully calculated exchange, a meticulously planned fraud disguised as affection. And the only way to get back your self-respect, your dignity, when you have been tricked, when your heart and your bank account have been emptied, is to fight back with cold hard logic, to hit them where it hurts, to break down the very foundations of their deceit, to expose the rotten core. Because revenge, when served with a clear mind and a strategic hand, is not just about getting even, it is about taking your power back. It is about rebuilding your own truth from the ashes of their lies, and ensuring that your story and your comeback are truly your own. Hey Lamo English viewers, did this story of betrayal and triumph resonate with you? Have you ever had to fight back against a betrayal that rocked your world? How did you find your strength? What was you played, you lost moment? Share your story in the comments below. Let's reflect and heal together. And if you want to hear more raw, unfiltered stories like this, remember to subscribe to Lamo English for more compelling narratives that will help you learn English. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends if you found it powerful. Your support helps Lamo English grow and bring you more great content. We love hearing from you.